Folks, what I would like to do today is to talk about the applications of the linear programming that you are exposed to, and also not just that, but the other topics that you get exposed to in this course, that is decision modeling. Okay, and also I would like to touch upon some of the things, the tools and techniques that we come across with your personal day-to-day life. Okay, for example, the application of the techniques that you would be studying in this course and in the chapters ahead, okay, is applicable in all business disciplines. For example, marketing. You can apply that in terms of advertising. Okay, that is what advertising avenues to use and the combination of those, that is between magazines, newspaper, radio, television ads. Each one comes with different, the cost advertised. Not only that, the population that they reach are not only diverse, but also in terms of numbers, they could be very varying. Like advertisement, TV advertising could be national, whereas paper advertising could be regional. Okay, then the marketing surveys and other areas where the techniques can be applied. In manufacturing, resource allocation. In other words, any manufacturing company that we have around us, if you take the Harleys, if you take Bando, if you take, Trace Die-Cast and all, so they got machines, they got people, and they make different products, and so they have so much raw material available and so much labor. So these are the resources, some of the examples of resources, how to allocate those resources amongst the competing products to make the best use of the inputs, that is machine, equipment, capital, and all that to maximize the profit. What product choices or what products should they make in what quantities, and how much inventories to hold, and other such details. Okay, like production scheduling. That's in the manufacturing. In the human resources, we can talk about the staffing. Like for example, so many of you work in the restaurants and all, so what is the staffing plan? So based on the demand pattern that you have on a daily basis and within a day at different times, like in banks and other places, how many tellers or how many servers one need to have, okay, on hand to meet the customer needs, not to make them wait long, okay, and at the same time to keep the operating cost low. Okay, so that's a staffing decision, and that staffing decision also occurs in the police. For example, so if the police works, they work 8 hours or 12 hours, and what is the rotation for them? Because you want so many police officers, patrolling the streets at any given time. It can be applied there. Transportation and distribution. This is a wide area, like the products, that you touch on a daily basis, that you eat, is grown and is made somewhere else and was transported to the stores and, around you that you buy. So this is the transportation and distribution. Okay. Another example of transportation and distribution that you see on a daily basis is on the way to work or on the way to school. You see the Coke truck or maybe the Frito-Lay and other trucks, so that go visit several stores on a daily basis. They go take a stock of, how much, the Frito-Lay chips or the Coke bottles that are on the shelves, and based on that, they fill it up on a daily basis. And it's not that they would visit each and every store, so they perhaps have a schedule to visit such as a store on a daily basis, on a given basis. So this is called a transportation, which is also a traveling salesman problem. On any given tour that the person takes to visit the customers, what is the optimal way to visit the customer? Some of them are visited on a daily, in each visit, some of them perhaps in every second or third visit. Okay, and that is also that you see, for example, Bowling Green is home to the auto manufacturing. Besides Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky comes number 3 in terms of the automobile production here. We got a lot of suppliers to automobile companies here. And, we got Nissan plant down there in Smyrna, Tennessee. Like for example, if their pickup truck comes to pick up the material from several different places, the sources that they have here, some of them they visit on a daily basis, some of them they visit on every second or third visit. Okay, that's called milk route planning. So that's where it is applied, and you see these trucks on a daily basis. Another area where it can be applied is a feed mix problem, meaning that like people, animals, and others, so they had to be fed every day, and so they have minimum requirement and nutritional on a daily basis. So and those nutrition requirements can be met from a variety of food sources, from cereals to bread to meat to milk to greens and fruits and other and several other different meats. So what is the optimal combination of these different sources of food that you have, that when you feed to the patient or to the school children or to the animal, not only it meets their daily nutritional requirements, but we meet that at a minimum cost. Okay, so that's there in that hospitality industry. In the service industry such as banks, airlines, and other places, it's a line management. Like if you enter a bank, you don't want to stand in line for 10-15 minutes to execute a small, perhaps a transaction that you have. Okay, and also it's not in the interest of the bank to have long waiting lines, because people would go and shop elsewhere. And such is the problem that you find at Walmart, Kroger, and other places also. People are not used to standing in line for hours or for tens of minutes at a time to process the request. Okay, so there is the line management. Now you can have small lines by opening more counters, but that comes at added expense of more labor costs. So you have to strike a balance between the customer service and managing the cost. Okay, there in the finance area, capital budgeting, meaning that you got several different ways in which you can invest the monies that you have, and you want the stream of revenue to come from different sources, okay, at different times. So what is the best way to allocate the dollars that you have amongst these various different financial products, so that your short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals are met in terms of the financial needs? So that's the application in the finance area. Okay, now couple of slides that we have going forward, they are taken from the Inform's website. Inform is a society for operation research. OR stands for operation research, MS stands for management science, which is the application of tools and techniques that we come across in this course. Okay, now they do have in Continental Airlines, okay, in terms of their ability to get back on feet after the 9/11 attacks. Continental Airlines was the first airline to get on their feet and restore their service to the full capacity compared to other airlines. The reason was they had gone through some disaster management plans before using the techniques here. So these are various places where you can apply these techniques, and what I'll do is I'll just kind of rush through these things, but I will put the PowerPoints there, and most of it is nothing but just read through that. Okay. So now here, as I said, Continental Airlines had a recovery plan in place for natural disasters, potential disasters, much before the 9/11, and as a result of that, if you look at their operations, 1,400 daily flights, 5,000 pilots, 9,000 flight attendants, had to meet FAA regulations, and also any action that they take, should be within the union contracts and could not go against that. Under those parameters, they did put an optimization model to generate optimal assignments of pilots and crews, and making sure that they really do not violate the union contract, that they can do only 8 hours, it cannot exceed more than 8 hours, either flight duration or work per day, and rotation and other things. They were able to save substantial amount of cost, through optimizing their operations. The second one is the Merrill Lynch, when the online banking and online investing came onto being, then again, we have these brick and mortar places. Okay, now what is the best balance that they can strike between the online services vis-a-vis, the brick and mortar, not alienating the customers in the process? What is the best way to do? How can they bring out their new product that is going to optimize their income, at the same time meet the customer demands and their preferences. Now, with the models that they choose, they introduce 2 new products which earn them $83 billion, and that is $22 billion in new assets, and produce $80 million in incremental revenue. Okay, and did help management identify and mitigate revenue risk of as much as $1 billion and reassured financial advisors. This is how they use the techniques and tools of this course. And of course, the problem that we do are, in terms of the scope, in terms of the size, they are small, but nonetheless, the concept behind it is just the same. But the real life problem may involve hundreds and thousands of constraints and hundreds and thousands of decision variables. But nonetheless, the way that we approach the problem is the same. Okay. Now here is a case about the NBC, about their advertising, optimization of their advertising sales. Now, as you go through this, you can pause the screen, then you can read through that. I do not want to read, what's there on the screen. At Ford Motor Company, they have different prototypes, and so all they are get subjected to different types of tests and other things. Here, the decision is how to use this the number of prototypes that they have to put them through the experiments and the tests that are needed for different purposes. Like for example, the contour of a car affects the drag. That has a direct implication on the fuel efficiency. Okay, how do you do that? You use a wind tunnel. You have seen it on TV. Okay, like that. So various tests are basically done on these various prototypes to measure the critical design factors and performance factors. Now, using their prototype optimization model, they reduced annual prototype cost by $250 million. Procter & Gamble, it's a supply chain. Now, they produce a huge variety of consumables, products, and plants in so many different places within the US and across the globe, and so many distribution centers. They were looking at their production facilities and also the distribution plan to meet the growing demand, or to meet the product demand at the lowest cost by consolidating the distribution centers and the production facilities. So with their model, they saved $200 million a year before tax and allowed Procter & Gamble to write off $1 billion of assets and transition costs. American Airlines, and again, it is the online, and you have done it many times. I have done it many times. We go online, then through Priceline.com, we bid for the price, or we just go, we buy the price. So here, if you take a plane, it is next to you. There could be a person who sits next to you could have paid $600 for the ticket that you paid $150. Okay, so now that is nothing but how to allocate the seats. In other words, if you take a capacity, how to divide the capacity, and then how long to hold the capacity to command a price, and after that time period, okay, no longer you can demand a premium price, but you have to give a discounted price. So that's sort of an optimization that you have to take over here. It is a potential for revenues versus the risk of not filling a seat. So that's sort of a cost and benefit analysis what you have to do. And so the technique that you actually use here is called dynamic programming, which is very similar to what you would be that you are exposed to in linear programming. Projected value in 91, it's $1.4 billion. Okay, and not only that, this software was helpful to them, and also the same software was adopted by other airlines, then spread to hotels, car rentals, cruises, and so many different places.